Nightfall, Plum Island, The Lion, and most recently, The Panther. Oh, those are all titles of a #1 New York Times books, all written by the same guy, Nelson, who's about to join us live with his latest book called The Quest. And Nelson, do you enjoy getting out there and talking with your fans?
Actually, I do. This gets you out of the house a little bit, gets you out of the office too, and it is a chance to meet the fans. And this is early in the tour. This is day 1 of the tour, so don't ask me that question next week.
Well, Nelson, I know that you have an office. Is that the location for the mastermind of all these New York Times bestsellers?
Yeah, I mean, I can't work in the house. My wife doesn't want me in the house. I have a 6-year-old who makes a lot of noise. And I've had an office actually for 30 years. I used to write in the house, and many authors still write in the house, but I think a lot of them have figured it out that they need to get out of the house where they can have their little mental breakdowns in private.
Well, what's the key to that office? I mean, what would surprise us most about the atmosphere?
It's really sparse. It's just 4 walls and a table. I don't actually type. I write longhand, so I don't even have a computer in there. So it's just me, a chair, a table, a pencil sharpener, and yellow pads and some reference books. No pictures on the wall, but some nice windows I can look out and see what the rest of the world is doing. And every writer has a different writing cave. Some like it dark, some like it lively, and I like it kind of just quiet and to myself. And I call it Area 51. Nobody's allowed in there.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Area 51 has been the place where you've created yet another masterpiece. And this one is so interesting because you've intertwined the jungles of Ethiopia with the archives in the Vatican.
Yeah, actually the book takes place mostly in Ethiopia, but also there's a scene set in Rome. And what I postulate here is that Ethiopia may have been where the Holy Grail is. According to Ethiopian legend, the Ark of the Covenant is there, and there's a place where you can actually come and see the church where the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to be. The Holy Grail is supposed to be in a hidden monastery in the jungle. So, I based this on some, I don't call it history, but I do call it legend and myth, but some historical evidence that this being a biblical land where the last emperor, Haile Selassie, was the direct descendant of Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. It is a resting place of a lot of interesting religious artifacts. So I set it there, and then of course the scene shifts to the Vatican, and we have your regular Vatican conspiracy. That's no religious thriller would be complete without a Vatican conspiracy. And it's all a lot of fun, but it's also a serious look at some spiritual issues and things that we may be looking for inside of ourselves.
Nelson, I found it really interesting. You've got all these best-selling books, but yet you went back and revisited one of your books to rewrite it. Why did you do that?
Well, that's a good question. I wrote maybe a dozen paperback novels before I was a best-selling author, before I was Nelson DeMille, but I don't think anybody ever read them. They probably sold a couple of thousand copies. And I knew I had a bigger audience now. I hope I have a bigger audience. But this, of all the old paperbacks that I wrote, this was the one that stayed with me, and the one I thought really needed not only a rewrite, but it really deserved a wider audience. So I approached the publisher, and this is rarely done when best-selling authors revisit an earlier book, do a rewrite and reissue as a new book. So they were a little bit resistant, but they kind of got it. They kind of saw what I saw, which was a great story that just needed to be retold. And they were supportive, and here we are a year after I proposed it, and I think we're going to have a #1 bestseller at the end of this week, I hope.
Well, Nelson, no doubt about it, but what was it about you early on that just seemed to connect so well with us in writing?
To me, allegory was important, and also the idea of this kind of search for who we are and what our existence is. And maybe all this, a lot of the literature I'd read in college was still in my head, and it kind of came out in this commercial novel. So something clicked, when a writer sits down and things are clicking. Something clicked with this book back in '75 when I was writing it. And although I didn't really bring it to the level I would have wanted to then, I was happy for the chance to go back and do a rewrite on this thing and make it a Nelson DeMille book, if you will.
Well, all of us are glad you went back and got a gem and put that Nelson DeMille magic touch to it, and we are going to enjoy The Quest. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Conn.